YouTube, Pat here, bringing you a video on Dark and Darker, specifically top 5 reasons you might be losing in your dungeons or slash raids, I guess you would call it. So if you find yourself struggling or feel like you could win a lot more and would like to leave with a lot more loot, or maybe you're doing fine but your friends could use a little help, make sure you share this video with them. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's get right into it.
11.
Number 1, keep your health up. Health is a very, if not the most important resource that you have. You spawn in with 100% and you want to keep it that way for as long as you can. That seems simple to say, but what I mean is when you're walking around, pull your torch out, make sure you're not stepping on traps. You know, if you're fighting mobs, don't get hit by the mobs. Make sure you bring plenty of heals in the dungeon with you. And if you don't have any heals, well, you definitely don't want to get hit by anything. Keeping your life total up and making sure that it's the #1 priority is gonna keep you alive more than not. It's not okay to just take a hit here and there and be like, well, I'm at 75% health. You're gonna lose if you go against somebody who has 100% health in a battle. Number 2, cheese the mobs. Again, with keeping your health up, taking any damage from a mob or an NPC is absolutely unacceptable. There is no reason to take damage from any mob in the game. Sure, things happen, they blindside you, or you get backed into a corner in a fight with a player, whatever it may be. But as you're clearing dungeons yourself and you have all the time in the world, take your time. Every single mob in this game has some type of attack pattern that you can avoid and dodge, or even better, they can be cheesable. 90% of the mobs in this game, if you just stand on top of a chest or some type of box or a ledge, and you get above them, they can't hit you. That includes elites, you know, the champion mobs, the wraith. You should be able to cheese every single mob in this game, and there's no reason to take damage from them. Number 3, use all of your utilities. When going into a fight, or even just walking around, it is very important to know what utilities you have at your disposal at that exact time. That means your abilities, any shield potions, any traps, you know, anything that you can use at your disposal, the Molotovs you can throw. Just make sure that you know what you have available. Take the time. Maybe you go to sit heal, you know, and you take a look in your inventory. Make sure you know what you have at your disposal, so when the time comes, you know, we've all been there. It sucks to lose a fight and then be like, oh man, I had A, B, or C that I could have done, and I didn't even think about using that. You know, well, it's too late now. It's good to make sure you have a mental plan of what you have utility-wise before you go into a fight, because fights happen sporadically, whether you like it or not. And I guarantee you, if you use everything you had at your disposal, you're gonna feel a lot better about losing the fight and actually probably win. Number 4, map positioning. It's important to understand the maps. Now, Goblin Caves, the solo dungeon, that map is standard. Things like the crypts, you know, that is a randomized map, so that one you're not going to memorize as well, but memorize the maps, know what's going on. Some maps have, especially in the solo dungeons, these maps have secret exits. It's a almost guaranteed exit that you can leave every time. I think every once in a while it just doesn't open, but 90% of the time it does, and it's a free escape if you can just maybe do some clearing around that area, and then as soon as you hear the door open, get out. Also, it's important to understand where the zone is pulling. You know, that circle gets smaller and smaller. If you know where that's going, it's a good idea to stay in an area within it, to know that portals are going to be there. Start making your way through there. Start clearing the mobs out ahead of time. That way you're not fighting against mobs in front of you and the storm at your back, because that is a very panicky situation. We've all been there. Just try to stay on top of where the storm is moving, and listen for those portals. Also, there are maps on the internet. There are about 3 different crypt maps. High Roller, there's a little bit more, but we won't get into that. Let's say you die and your team's still alive. The first thing I do when that happens is I pull up one of these maps and I find a resurrection shrine and say, hey guys, go northwest, get this shrine, get my stuff back. And that way I get back in the fight, you know, no harm done, and I don't have to yell at my team for letting me die, because it was totally their fault, not mine. Number 5, understand when to take fights. And what this means is understand your team composition, understand what you as a player bring to the table when it comes into a fight, and you have strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, if you're solo and you're a rogue, you're gonna hide and you're gonna stab the crap out of somebody when they walk by, right? Understand that when you are in a room, you're looting, you're killing mobs, you're walking around, players hear you. The sound in this game travels very far, so you're not gonna really get the jump on anybody. I mean, if you know players are there, they know you're there. So most likely they're prepared for you. Generally, with most teams, the team that pushes in first loses. All right, if you're in a room and they're in a room, if you push in first, you will most likely lose unless you're geared out of your mind. You know, and it goes both ways. They have time to set up traps. They have time to buff. You know, if they're ready for you, you know, you're not looking at a good time. It is okay in this game to, I don't want to say run from a fight, but avoid fights, or at least reposition yourself for maybe a better position in a fight where you're not going through a small, narrow doorway. Maybe get ahead of them in the zone so that they have to come to you. Something like that. You know what I mean? All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If it was helpful for you, hit that like button. If it could most likely be helpful for a friend who's raging out lately, make sure you send them a link to this. And I appreciate you guys. I'll see you all in the dungeons. Much love. Peace.